this is not a smooth road ahead for Democrats. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, I think, are a very strong ticket and clearly appeal to a large segment of America. But I do think that Kamala Harris can give him a run for his money.
Lew, let me ask you a brutally honest question. Are there better candidates than Kamala Harris, but they just won't be picked and won't come to the fore because it's not a good look to drop the Veep now?
Yes, in some ways, yes. Look, the Democratic Party has a very strong bench of governors and senators and representatives who all of whom would love, I think, to be running for president. And because of the way this process unfolded this year with Joe Biden as the candidate, none of them really had a chance to put their names forward to be the candidate. So now we're in this position where Kamala Harris is really the only person who has the infrastructure and the funding and the name recognition to do this at this late date. But there are other Democrats, I think, who, politically, it's not a great look. Nobody really wants to go up against the first woman candidate, the first woman of color candidate, the first woman of color vice president. But I guarantee you there are other Democrats who are thinking, if we had known that Joe Biden wasn't going to run, I wish he would have announced a year ago so we could have thrown our hats in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, Lew, that's going to be the important part here. But we've seen that it's not always about policy. And while Kamala Harris might have a stronger footing on the policy front, it's the personality front that seems to be what catches people right now. Does she have the personality then to win over all those votes that she needs, not just from her party, but even on the fringes of the national electorate?
Well, Kamala Harris has a very strong background, and she can be a very engaging speaker, and she connects well with voters, especially for purposes of this election. She connects well with women voters over reproductive freedom issues. She connects better with younger voters than Joe Biden has been doing, and she connects well with African American voters. Her approval rating within the Democratic Party is actually quite high. It's around 85%. Democrats like Kamala Harris. The question is whether she can translate that popularity with Democrats to a broader popularity that will attract independent and swing voters across the country.
Yeah. Does it matter that the Obamas haven't necessarily endorsed her as yet? And does she necessarily have to be a shoe-in? I mean, if they don't find, or if they have infighting for leaders, does that not worsen the case for them?
Well, I think the party is obviously trying to avoid infighting, but the last thing they want is the party to split itself apart over the next month before the convention. So they want to go into this convention, I think, with her essentially coronated as the new nominee. And it's looking that way. They've had a very strong rollout this day, very high level endorsements, including a couple of potential candidates saying they're not going to run against her, thinking of Governor Gavin Newsom and Governor Gretchen Whitmer. That said, your question about Obama, I think Obama wants to avoid the appearance that he is putting his fingers on the scale and pushing this forward. He wants this to be seen as more of a democratic process. All these delegates that Joe Biden has across the country will now have to decide who they will support. 5 states already, last I checked about an hour ago, have already come out and said our delegates are all 100% in with Kamala Harris. So I think we will see more and more states doing that. So by the time they get to the convention on August 19th, it's pretty much a done deal. But it'll be a done deal because the states themselves and the delegates themselves have made that decision, not because the party elders have forced it on them.